Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS-FANS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland, BROWNS-FANS. Let's get to the news. When it comes to the NFL, especially here in Cleveland, we all know that the landscape is always shifting, always evolving, and right now, there's a lot of buzz about some recent moves, some strategic shifts, and how they're going to impact not only the AFC North but the entire league. But today, I want to take you into a story that might seem small on the surface, yet it speaks volumes about the changes happening behind the scenes, changes that could influence the Browns' future for years to come. And no, I'm not just talking about draft picks or signings. I want to talk about experience, longevity, and perspective, things that players like Joe Flacco, yes, the veteran quarterback himself, can offer us, especially as we look toward the upcoming season. Now, for those of you who might not remember or maybe didn't follow his career closely, Joe Flacco isn't just any NFL player. As of 2024, he's the 5th oldest player in the league and the 2nd oldest quarterback. That's right. He's been around the block, seen it all, and his career spans an incredible 17 years. That's longer than most of the rookies and even some of the younger veterans now in the league. Flacco's age is almost a relic, a living testament to how much the NFL has changed over the years, especially when it comes to training, practice routines, and player health. And if you think about it, Flacco's career is a perfect lens to understand the evolution of the league itself, the way teams approach preparation, and how that impacts not only individual players but also team strategies. It's fascinating to think that Flacco, who is older than the classic movie Back to the Future, has seen the NFL's transformation firsthand. When he talks about his experiences, you realize that he's not just reminiscing. He's providing a perspective that's incredibly valuable for us fans, especially those of us who are rooting for the Browns and looking to understand how the league's shifting standards might influence our team's prospects. In recent interviews, Flacco has been quite candid about how NFL practices have changed over the years. He mentioned that in 2011, the league saw a significant shift when 2-a-day practices were outlawed as part of the collective bargaining agreement. That was a huge change at the time because, prior to that, NFL players were accustomed to intense, grueling 2-a-day sessions, often stretching for hours and pushing players to their physical limits. Flacco, with his decades of experience, recalls that even in the early 2010s, practices were still quite intense, lasting around 2 hours, with drills, conditioning, and scrimmages that tested even the most seasoned athletes. But what's really interesting is that Flacco points out how much less demanding practices have become since then. Today, NFL teams usually have practices lasting about an hour and 15 minutes, and players often think that's tough. For context, he mentions that in his earlier days, especially during OTAs, organized team activities, practices could last around 2 hours, sometimes even longer. It's a stark contrast to the shorter, more focused sessions we see now. Flacco's back-in-my-day tone might seem a bit nostalgic or even humorous, but it actually highlights a broader point about how NFL is prioritizing player health and longevity. This shift is especially significant for teams like the Browns, who have been focusing heavily on building a sustainable, long-term roster. You see, with the NFL schedule now expanded to 17 games, the importance of keeping players healthy during the offseason and training camp is more crucial than ever. The league's move to lighter practices means players can recover better, avoid injuries, and stay fresh for the grind of the regular season. This is one of those subtle but critical factors that could give Cleveland an edge, especially when battling through the tough AFC North division, known for its physicality and grit. But let's take a moment here, pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Now, I know some fans are probably wondering, okay, but what does this have to do with the Browns? Well, everything. Because the way teams approach practice, development, and player conditioning directly impacts how they perform in September and beyond. Cleveland has been building a roster with a focus on durability, smart training, and careful management of player workloads. That's why the Browns coaching staff, led by Kevin Stefanski, has been so attentive to these details, making sure players are rested, prepared, and at their best when it counts. And speaking of players, let's talk about the quarterback situation here in Cleveland. The Browns have a roster full of promising talent, but quarterback is always the position that makes or breaks a team's chances. Last season, we saw some flashes of brilliance from Deshaun Watson, but also some inconsistencies. That's why the addition of veteran mentorship, like Flacco, or perhaps even future plans involving experienced quarterbacks, could be crucial. Having someone like Flacco in the locker room, who's seen it all, can serve as a stabilizing presence for our young quarterbacks, especially those who are still learning the nuances of NFL-level preparation and game management. And speaking of young quarterbacks, the Browns have drafted or signed some promising rookies, like Dorian Thompson-Robinson and others, who are eager to make their mark. But as Flacco's career shows, experience counts, especially in high-pressure moments. Watching a veteran like him navigate the league for over a decade and a half, adapting to rules changes, practice routines, and the physical toll of the NFL, gives our young guns a blueprint for longevity and resilience. It also underscores the importance of smart training, proper recovery, and mental toughness, things that can be cultivated over years, not just in a single season. More broadly, this discussion about NFL practice routines and veteran insights ties into Cleveland's ongoing rebuild. The team has been making smart moves, emphasizing a balanced approach to player health and performance. The addition of experienced players and coaches who understand the importance of sustainable training regimes is part of that puzzle. Cleveland's front office has been diligent in trying to create a culture that values long-term success over quick fixes, and that's reflected in how they're managing practice schedules and player workload. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. The AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions in football. The Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers are all loaded with talent and have established identities. For the Browns to rise to the top, they need every advantage they can get, be it a strong offensive line, a dynamic defense, or a smart, healthy approach to player development. And the league's ongoing shift toward lighter, smarter practices might be just what they need to gain that edge, especially considering the physical toll of a 17-game schedule. Plus, Cleveland's recent draft picks, especially on defense and the offensive line, show that the team is serious about building a squad that can withstand the rigors of the NFL season. The front office has been aggressive in acquiring talent that combines youth and experience, a perfect recipe for sustained success. And with the coaching staff emphasizing player health and conditioning, Cleveland could see a more durable and consistent team this year. Looking ahead, we can't ignore that the NFL is constantly evolving, and the Browns are adapting along with it. The insights from veterans like Flacco serve as reminders that experience and smart training are just as important as raw talent. As fans, it's exciting to see a team that's investing in its future, not just with draft picks, but also with a culture that values longevity and resilience. Cleveland's focus on these aspects could translate into a more competitive, more consistent team that's ready to challenge the division and make a playoff push. And of course, all of this is happening while the league continues to grow in popularity, with new rules, new stars, and new stories unfolding every day. The NFL's evolution, from grueling two-a-day practices to lighter, more strategic sessions, reflects a league that's learning from its past, prioritizing health, and aiming for a sustainable, exciting future. And Cleveland, with its passionate fan base and dedicated organization, is right in the middle of this transformation. It's an exciting time to be a Browns fan, especially when you consider how much the league has changed and how Cleveland is positioning itself to take advantage of these shifts. So as we look toward the season ahead, keep in mind that what's happening behind the scenes, player health strategies, veteran leadership, and the evolving practice routines could be the key to unlocking that potential we all know the Browns have. We're talking about a team that's been building patiently,